Hi friends, Andy here, helping you build a career you love. Great to have everybody. Thursday live office hours climb in. We've got interview coaching today and how to sell yourself best to those employers. So, lot to cover, lot of fun, lot to learn, and I think this is going to help you not only in your interviews, but also writing your resume, telling your interview stories, and proving yourself when it comes time to actually negotiate your salary. But like I like to do before I start any of my shows, Lisa321 is right on the top there. At least that's the first one I see. Amy, what's up? Kay, Michael Moore, Reka, Edward L, Adrian, what's happening? Eva, Michael, Susan, Peter, Deb, Liz, Suzanne. Kara's actually on the West Coast today. She feels far away from me. Say hey to her, Demetra, Thomas, and everybody else. So great to have you. Thanks for showing up. I appreciate you greatly every week. I just got done talking to my dogs and thanking them for being them and thanking you for being you. I know God brought you to me at this time, so I'm going to give you a good show today. All right, so today I do want to talk about how do you sell yourself best in an interview. It starts with understanding what it is the employer wants. And a few weeks ago, I want to say about a month, one of you during one of the live shows had asked me, you said, Andy, and Coach Andy, I was asked in an interview to actually prepare a presentation and map how my skills fit for the position. And since that time, when I think it was Brian, maybe it was Brian Hughes or somebody, Brian or Brandon or somebody like that asked me the question. And since that time, a few other people have asked me this. So I thought it would be a great topic to bring to you for one of our Thursday live shows. So I'm going to walk you through how I would think about preparing this presentation, what the sections are of it, and how you could do it in long form or even in one snapshot of a slide. So I think it'll be a lot of fun. Let me know in the chat. I always like to know where you're watching from, but also what is your biggest struggle when putting a presentation together? I know we struggle with answering interview questions in general, but what is your biggest struggle with putting a presentation together like this? And I do want to focus on this particular scope today, how your skills map to the jobs you're pursuing, a particular job itself, or any of the types of employers that you're trying to pursue. Okay, let's start. I got some note cards. I want to walk you through these concepts. First thing is, I want you to realize that even if an employer asks you, put a presentation together and mapping how your skills map to the job description, or even if they don't ask you to put a presentation together, but they actually ask you, how do your skills map to doing this job? That is not what they're buying. They do not buy your skills. They do not buy features. And if you don't believe me, I want you to imagine for a second, step back. You're not a job candidate anymore. You're a customer. Anything that you buy in your life, why do you buy it? Why do you buy the product? Why do you buy the service? Usually, not always, it's because of transformation. It's what it's going to do for you. It's how it's going to make you feel. It might be a tool that is going to enable you to do something better. If you're a drill salesman, I use this analogy from time to time. You can sell the drill and its features. You can sell the hole in the wall that it's going to create for you so that you can put the nail in, so that you can hang the picture, or you can sell the feeling of looking at that picture every day. That's what the drill creates. And so what is it that you buy as a customer? You buy transformation, right? We always swipe on the Instagram, right? We see the washboard tummies and the washboard abs, right? We're buying the end product. We're not buying the 2 hours a day of sweating it out for a month or a year. We're not buying eating, less calories or whatever the diet is going to be that's going to help you, because abs are made in the kitchen, but you get the idea. So I want you to keep that in mind, because the first thing that you need to understand is, well, what are the employer's goals? So if I was going to give a presentation, literally, I would be talking about what is it you want to happen? Not just how my skills map, but what are we shooting for? And the first thing that you should do even before you start job searching, is think about your target organizations, what it is they want to achieve, how it is you're going to help them achieve that based on how you've helped other organizations or teams or whoever it is, customers, achieve those goals in the past. So you start with, well, what are the top 3 goals? Well, the marketing team's goals are what? They want more leads. They want them faster. They want them cheaper because they want to build their brand and they want to sell to the customers. They want those leads to convert at a high rate. We know this to be true. If you're running a project and you're the IT project manager and you're trying to implement a project, an IT project, you're probably implementing a system of some type so that it will streamline their processes and their operations. Maybe it's an analytics engine to gather data so that they can make better decisions, so that they can sell better. Maybe it's making processes more efficient so that they can save money. Whatever it is, I want you to think about, what is it that you help companies do? Ultimately, what is the goal? Your goal is not your activity, right? The goal of the marketing team is not to put in a system that allows you to collect data. That's an activity that helps you achieve the ultimate goal of generating more leads, becoming more well-known in the market, in your space, whatever it is. So how are you actually graded today? What are your ultimate objectives that you're trying to help the team attain? That's a great place to start. You can always use your favorite AI tool and say, hey, I'm on the marketing team. What are the marketing team's top 3 goals? Usually, any marketing team that exists or has ever existed or will exist for all time wants those goals that I just gave you. Whatever it is that you do, if you're the engineer who creates the semiconductor, I want you to create me a semiconductor as fast as possible, as cheaply as possible, and I never want it to break or burn out. Right, so you get the idea. So what are the goals? Everything starts with the goals. If you understand what these goals are before you give your presentation, you're going to be way ahead of the game. But even if you don't, you can still anticipate what they are likely to be based on your experience in doing the job. And if you've never done the job before, then A, question why you're interviewing for it, but B, you can use your favorite AI tools or whatever, but you got to come up with the goals. That's numero uno. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is, what is standing in your way as an employer in achieving those goals? It's the problems. Now, I'm telling you that it's very easy to identify what the goals are because they're pretty straightforward. They really are. Don't overcomplicate that. Now, the problems are a little bit different because every organization, every team that you're targeting may have different problems in attaining the goal. What do I mean by this? Well, a lot of you, the 169 of you that showed up on time today, I'm going to make an assumption. Some of you I've met, and most of you I have not met. I'm going to make an assumption that all of you want to either find a new job, or change careers to a better career, or you're my mom. Okay, that's basically who's here right now. And so I know your goal is to find a job you love, get paid more, right? That'd be better. More's nicer. It's not the be all end all, but more is better, right? Get paid what you feel you're worth, be appreciated, right? Learn, grow, and those kind of things. I know all of you want that. There's not a person in the world that doesn't want that, right? But what I don't know is what Deb Lemishow's specific problem is, or Edward L's specific problem, or Michael's problem, or Susan's problem, or Peter's problem, or 321's problem. So now, but what I do know is I know all the job searching problems that you could possibly have. That's because I'm old and I've been doing this a long time. But I know you might not know how to identify the right companies. You might not know how to put a resume together. You might not know where to put the resume, as in not in the applicant trashing system. Your problem might be you're going at the systems and trying to find and surface interviews that way when that's not the fastest way. Okay, so you have a job searching problem. Maybe you have absolutely no trouble surfacing interviews, but when you get into the interview, you can't get past the interview. Because even though you're super smart, you have no idea of how to sell yourself. You have no idea what they're looking for. You don't know how to answer job interview questions, whatever it is. Maybe you want to change careers and you're not quite sure. You don't know what you don't know, so you're not quite sure where to start. You're not quite sure where to look. You're not quite sure if you're going to like that. Maybe you live in the UK and you want to move to the US, and that's harder than moving from the UK from one city to another. So there's a whole host of problems. So I know what all of those are. I could rip them off the top of my head if I had 5 minutes to sit still. You can definitely identify the top 5, 6, half a dozen, or 10 problems that a team would have in achieving the goal. You don't have to be exactly right that they have the problems, but the fact that you have a pretty holistic inventory of what those potential problems can be will really help you sell yourself, because maybe you've already handled those problems and addressed those problems and learned how to overcome them from previous work that you've done. Or even if you have not, the fact that you know the problems could potentially exist as part of your preparation, you can identify solutions to overcome these problems. But you might be able to ascertain the goals and the problems throughout the interviewing process, so that at the point you need to put this presentation together, probably a little bit more down the end, or maybe midway or toward the end of the interviewing process, you already have some of this, or you've been able to validate some of this. But even if you haven't validated, if this is the first thing they want you to do, you can still do these steps, because you can ask them. Generally speaking, these are the top 6 problems you'll encounter when you're trying to expand into that European region, whatever it is. Who's tracking so far? You get where I'm going with this? And why are these so important? Because this is what will transform them. You have a job searching problem. I squash job searching problems, which means you're going to overcome this problem and you're going to be happy in your new job. And I know this to be true because I get dozens of emails and DMs every day from people who's been helped by my material. So this is what I know I do. I help them transform that way. So this is what you're trying to do in advance, and this is what you need to do even before you fill out your resume, because you want to show and highlight how you've done these things. But as part of your presentation, this is number 1, this is number 2. This is what you have to get down, and the faster you can get this down, the better. And then I see somebody saying, problem with employer problems, they're not always aware of their issues. Even better, you're going to show them the latent pain that they don't even know they have. And then you're an absolute genius and you'll get hired. And so their problem becomes an advantage for you. Their lack of awareness, their lack of understanding gives you an opportunity to show them where the latent pain is. And that's even better. And I want the person who's helping me understand what I'm going to encounter, because they are so skilled and experienced at it that I don't know what I don't know. And you're going to come here and you're going to fix me. Okay? Next thing you're going to say, well, here's how I solved that. Here's how I solved these problems. Here's how I solved them. What are you going to use in your presentation? You're going to have a power story or a project that you did, or you're going to have a case study. So what are these? All right. So when you understand their goals and you understand their actual problems or their potential problems or the possible problems, however you want, you're going to come up with whatever your claim to fame is and how you've solved this in the past. So when I say a power story, for those of you that don't speak Coach Andy, that's effectively the story in your background, or the project in your background, or the scenario in your background, or whatever it is, the accomplishment that you've helped an organization attain that is as close as possible to what you need to do in the future with that employer. So have you implemented a customer relationship management system for a business-to-business services company? If you have, and that's what we are, and that's what we're hiring you to do, I want to know, where have you done that before? This would all be synonymous. And because the data that goes along with you sharing your power story or you sharing your case study is all the same data. And if you're not familiar what goes into a power story, you're in luck, because I have a video on my YouTube channel about a job interview formula guaranteed to get you hired. You can check that out. And I also have an upcoming workshop, depending on when you're watching this. If you're here with me live, it's September 10th and 11th, where I'm going to break down how to do these. We're going to do a 2-day free workshop on Zoom. It's a 4-part workshop where I'm going to break down each section of my CAR technique that helps you tell your power stories. And we're going to do the C and then the A and then the A and the R, and I'm going to teach, and then we're going to go and we're going to role play, and we're going to go through real life examples. So keep your eye out for that. That's coming really soon. All right, but what you're going to do is you're going to come up with the most analogous scenario, and you're going to explain what transpired. And here's what the scenario was, here's what the challenge was, here's the context, which is what my C stands for, here's why we were doing what we were doing, here's how I did it, here's the benefits that they had. So here's how I solved it. Now you can stick to the here's how, because you're ultimately going to get to, and here's what exactly happened. Those specific outcomes for the other players that I did this for, whether that's an internal team, customers, or your company, or your community, or whoever it was. But then number 4 should be, these were the results. So what you're doing is you're showing them that if these are your goals and these are your potential problems, here is where I've done that before. These were the specific outcomes, and then these are the specific skills I used. So you want to call their attention to the exact skills. And I use these skills and experience in order to create the whatever. I used my financial analysis skills to create the business case that contained the financial assessment that proved the project was going to be viable, it was going to have an excellent payback period, great benefits, and so on. You can list them, you can map them, however it is. But what you do not want to do is you do not want to actually do this first. Why? Big mistake. When I don't have any frame of reference in the application of your skills or experience, they are meaningless to me. You saying you have X years of experience doesn't do anything for me. I don't know. But if you show me what you did to help an organization actually achieve something by overcoming problems, and you wrap that into a story-like format, what you're ultimately doing is you're helping me with the believability factor. You're helping me with additional deduction, because by the time you get to here, I will have already assumed you have all the skills I need. So at this point, all you're doing is you're reiterating for them specifically what you know. But you've already provided evidence of the fact. And whenever you're telling a story in an interview, you do not say, I have this experience and I have that experience. You tell it in a story format. And as I'm listening to your story, I'm deducing your skills. If she's able to do that, she must know this. She must have this skill. She must know how to analyze those problems. She must understand how to research. She must be organized. She must be influential if she was able to sell the project to begin with. I'm doing all of that while you're telling me the story. So it's really, really important that by the time you get to the 5th point, you've already won it. Now, one of the things that I want to show you here is a little snapshot. Okay, I know this card might be a little hard to read, but go with me on this. So one of the things that I used to do when I was working for consultancies, and we would go and pitch proposals and do presentations that were probably not much unlike what I just explained to you. The only difference was we were selling multi-million-dollar projects, and we needed to show them that we knew how to do whatever it was that they needed us to do, and that we could do it efficiently. But not only that, they will be successful, but we also have a track record of success. Same thing. So what I used to do in the proposals, what I would put literally a slide for each case study that I would discuss. For you, this could be a project, and you could put multiple projects in the back of your presentation. Even if you don't get to all of them, you can show more evidence of the fact, and these are very simple. Upper left quadrant, here's the scenario. These were the goals, and these were the problems of the organization, my client organization, whatever it was. The solution and the process that I went through was this. Here's the methodology we use to implement the blah, blah. We implemented it with these steps and this software product and these organizational changes and these process improvements, whatever it was. These are the resources that we used in order to pull that off. In your case, you could put your skill sets, you could put other resources if you want, but for purposes of this presentation, we're primarily focusing on your skill sets. And then here are the results. Here's the case study, and here's what happened for this team, for this organization, for my boss, for my board of directors, for my customers, for my shareholders, for my clients, for my partners, and here were the benefits. And you put a quad together that is literally a snapshot and a summary of these guys, what the goals were. Just to recap it very quickly, what the problems were. Here's the approach, the process, the case, the project, whatever it is that is going to prove that you actually did it. Here were the specific outcomes that occurred from the project, from the effort, whatever that is. Here are the particular skills I used and how they map to what I did and what you need me to do. And here's a pretty little picture. And then there's some more pictures that I will leave with you because I'm so awesome. And you could go off and be regaled while I'm not even here. And you can just look through the booklet of all those things that I've done throughout my life. So when you give the presentation, I would concentrate on these areas. But when you leave, I always want a leave behind. I want you to leave them those case studies. So that's how I would do it. I'm about a minute off. I wanted to do this in 20. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, make sure to click the thumbs up button, the like button on whether you're on the live stream or you're on the recording. And if you have not subscribed to the station, please do so. If you're here with me live, we're going to the Q&A. If you're watching this on the recording, I will see you next week. All right, y'all, I hope you enjoyed that. I pride myself on being insanely consistent with what I tell you is important for you to convey in your resume, in your LinkedIn profile, in your cover letters, in your interview stories. Now, I know I asked early on, what were some of the biggest issues that you have? And I want to take some of those right away, and I got some really cool announcements for you too. Let's see. Biggest challenges, DFP, what's actually needed versus what is fluff, unnecessary, noise, not needed. Dana, I would say if you followed the protocols I gave you, you just go with this. Don't you worry. There's a lot of stuff in the write-up and in the job description that is it will be intuitively extracted by them, like your communication skills. So when you are delivering the presentation, I'm going to be able to see whether you have strong communication skills or not. So I wouldn't be looking at any of those kinds of traits. I would be very, very focused on what the core business functional skill sets are. And that will naturally eliminate the noise. Amy M, balancing too much info detail versus the right amount on the slides. So when I teach you, and I try to make it as plain and easy as possible, where I just give you bullets. Okay, I just want you to have the info, because the info's for you, it's not for me. So I'm not going to spend a lot of my time creating a lot of pretty flowery slides. If you are giving a presentation, I would be as economical as possible with the information on there. But for the 3 goals, you could just have 3 bullets. You want to have 3 little pictures of the bullets? You can. You want to do them across? Fine. You want to do them down? Fine. Not a big deal. You can have multiple columns of the problems. You could say these are the primary and are going to be in 90%, and then these other ones are going to be very, very unique and specific to the type of product, service, or whatever, and they can be organized that way. I wouldn't sweat it too much. Eva, making a presentation appropriate for executive management. I would say that one of the things that I said to Dana about focusing on the functional skills in this scenario, this interview scenario, executive management to me is I would be shocked if an executive manager asked you to do this in a job interview. I almost would probably say, you're not even worthy of having me if you're going to actually request me to do this for the executive management team. Now, if you're talking about an executive presentation, I'm actually doing some stuff on that tomorrow because we're going to be creating a business case in my leadership coaching program. I'm going to be talking about that in a few minutes. And then Adrian, keeping the presentation succinct. Okay, so a lot of these have to do with the economy of the information. What most people do is they want to explain how the sausage is made. And when I'm presenting to management, I go in and I say, okay, we've got 3 out. Here's what you want. Here's what I'm assuming is standing in our way. These are some constraints I used, and here were some additional thoughts, and I created 3 options for you. I'm going to tell you what those are and my recommendation. Now I'm going to tell you why I'm going to tell you. Okay, I give them the answer right away. I'm not like dragging them through all this stuff, because then they're going to want to know, why'd you choose this, that, and the other thing, and then I could just tell them. I don't need to explain every step I took to draw the conclusions that I drew unless they want to understand that. But much of the time, if you are presenting to your team, to your management team, they've entrusted you to go off and get this information, package it up, and explain it to them. Just give them the answer. You don't need to explain, the blow by blow of how you got there. And if they want more detail, you let them dig. So we always start with that approach. And it usually saves everybody a lot of time because, like I said, they trusted you to do it in the first place. Let's see, I answered that. Lou, what's up? Thanks to Andy and Kara. I was offered this morning. Lou, just asked for more money with Andrew's system. I love it. Lou, send me a message, man. You know I'm pulling for you. Lois Lane, you helped me 4 years ago. Awesome. Glad to have you back. I can't believe I'm back again, but I trust you completely. Well, I'm so happy to hear that I helped you, and I'm happy to hear that you trust me. I'm sorry to hear that you might be looking for a job again, but I don't know that I really want to be sorry, because I'm guessing you're going to find something even better than what you have or had. All right. I see some additional questions. Before I get into these additional questions, I want to give you some information. Tomorrow, actually, let me take this book because I don't have my other copy. Tomorrow, I have a leadership coaching program, our monthly session, and it's on building a business case. If you are wondering what that is, actually, let me just show you what tomorrow is. Let's get right to it. And tomorrow, if you're interested in joining, here's what I'm covering tomorrow, speaking of presentations. So we're going to be talking about building a business case. And my leadership coaching program, for those of you that don't know what it is it helps you build career skills. That's what it does in a nutshell. It helps you become a better communicator. It helps you become more confident. It helps you become more organized. It helps you with a lot of critical thinking skills, a lot of communication skills, but also hardcore business function skills, and something that all of you need to know how to do, I don't care who you are or what level you are, is understand how to build a business case. I don't want your ideas dying on the launch pad. So I'm going to help you understand how you scope these projects out, how you identify the goals and the success criteria. We're going to go through how do you create your budget, the return, the risk assessment, the mitigation plans, the org structure, the time frame. There's also the marketing strategy overall. There's the market assessment and customer assessment, competition highlights, and a whole bunch of other things. That's tomorrow. And as a matter of fact, we're rounding out the year with a lot of very, very employee-centric skills that I want you to be ready for, because at the end of the year, you usually go into performance reviews, planning for the future years, or future year, negotiating your pay raise and all these other good things. So we have a number of lessons related to this. So the employee year-end handbook is about what's all the information that you need to be collecting and analyzing as you go into the final quarter of the year. So in September, we're doing that. It's actually becoming a little bit of an annual affair with me because I want to make sure that you are hitting the last quarter of the year really hard. So I want to get you in a ready position to know exactly what to do, how to do it, what to look for. And then we're going to come back in October with negotiating higher pay, how to conduct and how to plan for and conduct your performance review in November. And then December is actually a multi-workshop month where we're going to talk about reflecting on the year. I have a methodology that I've been using for 25 years, actually maybe longer, on how to reflect annually to make yourself feel great about yourself, and then also use that information to actually plan your goals. So I want to do that in December because when I come back in January, we always look at building out your skill plan for the new year. So there's a lot to this. If you are interested in, let me just give me 1 second here to kind of dial it back. If you're interested in joining, one of the things that I offered last month is if you grabbed a hardcover of the ZEBRA Code, so as of like July 31st, I was offering $250 of free leadership lessons where I was giving you a skill building session. I was giving you a session on earning power, basically how your skills map to what you can earn. I also helped you with a number of other lessons related to mindset, building your self-awareness, overcoming imposter syndrome. Those were 2 lessons, as well as influential communication, how to craft compelling messages. I will still offer that to you if you grab a copy, a hardcover of the ZEBRA Code. Maybe Kara can put the page. Kara, can you put the page with the information on how to get the free lessons in the chat? If you send us your receipt, we will unlock those lessons for you. But if you have purchased a hardcover or want to purchase a hardcover of this book on Amazon, it's less than $20. I will also give you $50 off my annual plan pass to my leadership coaching program, where you will get over 80 lessons that we've already created, plus a year's worth of attendance at the monthly session. So you can join us tomorrow for building a business case, as well as all of those other sessions that we're going to be having for the rest of the year, and then obviously for much of 2026. And so it's either $49 a month or it's $297 a year, but I will throw $50 off if you've never gotten a ZEBRA credit, because some of you got $100 off. Some of you have already taken advantage of your $50 off, but I haven't really been offering that perk until right now this year. So if you've never taken advantage of that and you would like to, you are welcome to send us your receipt and we will be happy to take $50 off. If you are already in the leadership program and you have not had a chance to get a ZEBRA code credit, you just buy the hardcover and we will take $50 off your next year. So I'm really doing whatever I can to try to help you improve your career. If you're wondering, how it's gonna help you, this is really it's not a Band-Aid program, right? It's not fixing an immediate acute problem. But if you want to make a strategic investment in yourself, especially as it's aimed at communicating better, you get the sense that we do a lot of presentation and communication teaching in this program. It's all about being organized, more intentional, not just in your day, but in your projects, building relationships. How do you actually build relationships? How do you become a better communicator to build relationships? But also, how do you build relationships? How do you open them up? How do you network? How do you build them? Whether that's somebody you know or people that you're trying to meet, how you manage teams, build culture, all of that good stuff is all in there. And what we do each month is you get live coaching with me. Tomorrow's session is August's session on. This one is on building a business case. You also get detailed workbooks that explain the lesson. It's maybe a 3,000 5,000 word workbook that I give you that explains everything in the lesson, also gives you thought provokers and challenges so you can actually practice and implement the skill set. And there are some additional training courses that are worth $1,000 between productivity, goal setting, and career acceleration as well. So there are a lot of assets. It is really a fun environment. It's like I said, it's not urgent, and it won't be. If it's not urgent today, it's never going to be urgent for you. And then, as I mentioned, you do have two options. If you are a member of my job search coaching program, you get discounts on the monthly and the annual packages. But this deal, the $39 and $267, is for my boot campers. But anybody who buys the Zebra Code book now, I'll give you $50 off the $297 rate. So if you got any questions, you let me know. That's tomorrow. It's going to be a lot of fun, and it starts at 11. And if you can't make it, you do get the replay in addition to the access to the entire library, whether you're on the monthly plan or the annual plan. All right, Kara, can you pin the leadership thing in the chat so that they know where to go to find more info? I see she's put it in the chat. It's really, I mean, it's less than $1 a day, folks. If you are interested in joining, it isn't about the money. It's going to be about your time. Are you willing to put in what it takes to come to the sessions or watch the sessions, practice and implement these changes? Because you're never gonna evolve at any kind of accelerated rate by trying to get these skills built 9 to 5. It just isn't going to happen. Not to mention, you need to have the instruction. So I'm channeling 37 years of professional experience into giving you this guidance. I hope you join me on the journey. Okay. And then again, if you grab this Zebra code, I'll give you an extra 50 off, whether you're a boot camper or whether you are going off the regular rate. Okay, let's see. Let's see, who do we have here? Susan, I'm going into an interview next week that has no information about a teaching job. Should I ask questions before the interview to better prepare? I'm not quite sure. Are you saying you're going into an interview to get a teaching job, but you don't have any information about the job? If that's the case, then I would, and I know you have a teaching background, I would assume that you know generally what they're going to be looking for. If you're asking me, should I ask questions before the interview to prepare, there's a couple of ways to go about this. If this is your first interview with them, I'm not going to ask them any questions until I get there. And then if there's absolutely no job description, if that's what you're saying, and there's no insight, then there's a great likelihood that they're going to give you a little bit of background on what it is they want you to do or what it is they're looking for in the right person, or a little of both. And that's fair. And you could say up front, you know, I didn't have a job description. I wasn't entirely sure. Can you give me a little information so I can discuss my background in a manner that best helps you understand if I'm a great fit? And that's what I would do. There is a video actually on my YouTube channel, Susan, about how to get the job when no role exists. And then there's one about how to get the job when you don't have the job description. And you might want to look at those just to see how to prepare. But I'm not big on asking questions via email before I get to the interview. And I'm assuming it would need to be via email, because if you were going to talk to somebody, that automatically is an interview, even if you're talking to the recruiter. And if the first interview is with the recruiter, ask the recruiter to give you a little background. I think that's what you're saying. Michael, where do you draw the line between identifying a problem with the organization, what you can fix, and being too presumptuous that there is a problem? First off, there's absolutely no presumption. That's all we do, all of us, every single day, literally all and every day. All we do is solve problems. This is a phenomenal question. Here's a different way I want you to look at this. And I said this to somebody last week, and the woman who'd asked me on the live show, and she said, well, Andy, I'm the business owner, so I've introduced every problem. And so when I'm telling my interview stories, haven't I created the problem? And that's not, and I think earlier in the discussion, I said, I don't ever want you to start a story with a problem you created. And what I really probably meant to say is, I never want you to start a story with, I screwed something up. Okay, now let me be clear on what I mean as a problem. In 2015, I was a very, very successful executive recruiter. And if I wanted to live the life of luxury and ease, I would have just continued to do that. I worked a lot less. I had a lot less stress. I had a schedule that was a fraction of what I work now, and everything was fine, and I made a ton of money. Okay. I introduced problems and challenges because I have a mission that says this isn't good enough. It isn't good enough for you to help 50 people a year or 10 or 20 companies a year. There are millions of people out there that need help. So I had a problem because of an aspiration I wanted to attain, which was to help you, so that 10 years later, you and I could be sitting here every Thursday doing this. Okay, my problem was no one knew I existed as a career coach. You follow me? Michael, that's a problem. What's wrong with that? I had to solve that problem. I had to build a brand. Then I had another problem. I had nothing to sell. I had to build a training program. I had to build some coaching services. Great. But I built those, but still now I have to sell them. I got a selling problem because I'm not really good at selling. Okay, so everything that we do every day is working toward the next problem. Hey, started selling some stuff. Guess what the next problem I had was? Servicing the dang thing. Then guess what? Kept selling some more. Guess what happened? Got harder to service because it's just two of us doing this. Okay, so I had another problem. I had an efficiency issue. All of these exist all of the time, and all we do every day is figure out how to work toward the next problem and solve it. Okay, if you don't like the word problem, change it to challenge. Okay, what's the hardest issue? Well, I want to run a Facebook ad so I can enhance my my visibility and my brand. First issue I had was I didn't know how to run Facebook ads. Second issue I had was I started running them and I lost a lot of money because I wasn't targeting efficiently. Third problem was I started getting the targeting down, and then Facebook decided, well, we're just going to assume that you're an employer and you're advertising employment, which means we're not going to let you target demographics. It has to go to everybody. I'm like, well, okay, I can't use that medium now because I'm just wasting money. Okay, I got a new problem I got to solve. So there's all these problems that exist. There's nothing wrong with you saying and going into the interview and saying, generally speaking, Andy, if you want to improve your marketing, you either have a branding problem where no one knows you and you got to grow your audience. You just need to grow your audience, Andy. You don't need 10 people a day. You need 1,000. Great. Awesome. Andy, your videos are not really great. Okay, so we need you to be prettier. Okay, fine. Let's try that. Okay, you're going to need to do a lot of airbrushing for this thing to get prettier. Okay. Hey, wait, I like your videos, but you know what? You can't use the videos on YouTube on TikTok because they don't seem to get a hit because TikTok wants something else. You got an algorithm problem. You follow me? So all of these things exist. It doesn't make anybody a bad person, and it doesn't make any business a bad business. They're looking to you to help them address the challenges they have. When you go in, when you come to me and you say, Coach Andy, I'm not getting interviews. All I say is I ask you a bunch of questions aimed at figuring out where the problem is. So you, as a whatever it is you do, are playing detective with the company, but I don't show up to a coaching session trying to learn what the problems could be. I come in with an inventory of 100 different problems, and now I need to ascertain which 2 or 3 you have. And so that's what you're doing. You're not going to teach me something new. When I see you, you won't have a problem that I haven't encountered before. But that's because I'm really experienced at what I do. You may or may not be that experienced at what you do, in which case you need to go in and say, okay, I solved these 5 problems before. I've never had to work on this problem before. But if I did, here's what I would do. Great story here for you. I coached a woman who I think got 7 job offers. I'm not kidding, 7, because we worked at it for like a year and a half, and she just kept winning, but she didn't want to take anything. And she had the luxury of time and a number of other circumstances that were working in her favor, which enabled her to interview like crazy and never worry about taking a different job because she already had a good job. And she was a vice president of sales of a unit, and she'd never been a chief revenue officer before, and she had never worked for a startup before. So she'd always worked for prominent organizations. She's working for NVIDIA. And she was concerned that one of the problems would be they wouldn't be able to pay her enough. She was concerned that in order to leave, she wanted a certain level of money, but she also wanted to take a jump in title and in responsibilities. And even though she could go to a smaller company, she just wanted to make sure it was the right fit, which is why we poked around for so long. So we get to one organization, and I was coaching her, and I was literally giving her every single thing she needed to say in her story to help the CEO understand how she was going to approach building out the sales and marketing engine. And one of the problems that she was telling me, okay, so I said, okay, well, take me through the steps, how you would go about it. But effectively, I know what the steps are. You need to do the segmentation. If the customer segmentation is done, then all you're going to do is you're going to take it, and then you're going to look at it. If it's not done, that's a problem. You're going to do it. Either way, fine, step 1. Next thing is you're going to be going into a new market. Okay, do you have any segmentation there? You don't have any customers? All right, well, you're going to have to get market data. Okay, that's a challenge, problem. You got to do it. Right, fine. Even if she'd never done it before, we know how to do that. Okay, the third step after we analyzed this was we needed to change the product itself, because what they were doing at the moment was a free platform. So they wanted to make it a paid platform for enterprises, and then they were going to need to add features to make it worth people paying for. Okay, well, in a normal sales process, all you would do is you would sell the product. You would go out, you would create your scripts, you would target, you would cold call, you would network, you would do whatever. Except in this case, and she had never done this before, and she'd never encountered this problem before, but I knew and said to her, well, you actually have an intermediary step. You can't go from 2 to 3. You need to, at 2, you need to pause, and you need to go through an educational step before you go to step 3, because you're now going to have to conduct events and webinars and other things to educate your current base of free users in what the new product line is going to look like, and then you're going to have to show them the scenarios and the advantage of paying for it, which you would never have to do if you just were like anybody else and just had a product that wasn't available for free. Now, I have to do that with you sometimes. You're like, well, yeah, you just gave me the free template. Like, yeah, but that's only half the story. So now I have to show you, okay, well, so in her storytelling, when she's trying to explain her experience, she would say, okay, well, in your environment, we'd go from here to here. Normally, we would just go straight and we just make the jump, except you have an additional problem. Now, if they knew they had the problem, at least she was covered. If they didn't know they had the problem, she sounds like a genius. And even if he asked her, have you ever done this before? And she said, well, no, I've never needed to, but all we need to do is put webinars together, hold an event, do this email campaign, show these cases. All she needs to do is rip off the steps right then that says, I would know what to do if I had to do that. Is you covering and getting credit for experience you don't even have yet, but because you anticipated the problem, you knew how to handle it, and then you wouldn't be caught flat-footed. If you are not doing this before you go into an interview, you are hoping that you don't get asked this. But there's no way I would let that go if I was interviewing you. So when I'm prepping her, I'm saying, you need to say this. So you can't go from 2 to 3. You need to tell him that he's got a problem. And so this is the balance of you demonstrating, your experience and your know-how. And even though you haven't encountered everything before, you would at least not be a deer in the headlights when the issue surfaced. Who's tracking? Who does this? Right? If you're not doing this, you're going in half-cocked. So, Michael, that's a great question. I mean, I know I really ripped that one off there, but that's a really, really great question and a really, really important point as far as your preparation is concerned. So when some of you say, well, Andy, I don't have the experience, what do? I just told you. Okay, what else? How are we doing? Got any questions on my leadership program? Got any questions about the ZEBRA code? I know I blew through that pretty quick, but I want to make sure we're spending our time in the Q&A today. Tracy A. What's up, Tracy A? For skills I used, are these the yellow highlights everybody knows from the job description? Just list them, but don't dwell on them. Wait, great question. And if no one knows what Tracy's talking about, then you obviously don't speak Andy color palettes. When I teach my folks in my job search coaching program how to break a job description down, we use 3 colors. We use yellow. Yellow means everybody in the world is going to have this skill, meaning if they're interviewing project managers, everybody they're interviewing is going to know how to manage a project, okay? You're not going to separate yourself because your methodology is better in this case, because they're a dime a dozen. Yellow. Green. Green gives you a chance to do a little separation, meaning, well, we want a CRM project manager. Great. There's probably fewer of those, but we want a CRM project manager in the financial services sector. Okay, there's probably fewer of those. So maybe that's a green. Separates you a little bit. Then there is, well, I want a combination of somebody who knows how to use CRM in the financial services, who also knows AI, can integrate it with this, that, and the other thing, and also has built data backends and extraction tools that will give us the executive dashboard that's very specific to market trends in the blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, that's probably a winner. If you've got, meaning you got the yellows, you got the green, we call this electric blue. And so when you're looking at going into an interview, I want you attacking the blue, the electric blue. So what Tracy's asking me is, when I say skills used, I'm going to say, the reason that it was important that everybody had that we benchmarked everybody here is because Tracy, everything, I want everything. I want you to show them everything that you know and how you were able to do that. So if you just give me the yellows, you're just like everybody else. I want the greens and the blues. Consuelo, how do we pick a good story? It seems everything is good, but it doesn't have all the elements. Okay, everything is not good. And here's how you pick a story. First thing, does the story map to the great 8 elements? The great 8 elements, if you don't know what those are, I have a video on 8 ways to prove your value as an employee on my YouTube channel. And the great 8 elements address the top goals: revenue generation, market awareness, customer attraction, customer happiness, positioning your company for growth, or being a risk management or compliance. That's number 5. Then also there is employee happiness. There is cost reduction and process efficiency. So you start there. Then you want to pick the goals that map the goals that they want you to accomplish. So if I am going to tell you a story and I ask you a question, you're going to tell me a story. And I say, can you tell me, if I ask you a dumb question, like, can you tell me about a time you disagreed with somebody? You better go back to a story that addresses these goals, these problems, just like they want, in their environment, where you and somebody you disagreed about the solution that they want you to implement. That's how you pick a good story. If you don't have that story, then you're dropping substantially in connecting the dots for how you would do well in their environment, which is ultimately what they need to deduce. So you're looking for projects that map to what it is they want you to do. That's where it starts. Then from the experience and the subject matter or domain expertise that you have, you want to be talking about a disagreement in an environment that is about a problem that they likely have, and it was a solution that they likely need. So that's where you start. And the more germane and aligned your story to what they need, the better. So what does that mean? That means an older story that maps to what they need supersedes the same type of story that you did more recently that does not map to what they need. And the biggest mistake that job candidates make when picking stories is they pick stories that they think are cool that represent their traits. But if you're talking to me about a disagreement, just to tell me about a disagreement that you had that you thought was congenially done by you, that has nothing to do with what I do, that story is hollow and doesn't have any impact on me. And so it's much more difficult for me to see what I want to see. Now, yes, of course, I can see your team playing skills, your listening skills, your reasoning skills, your influential skills, your empathy skills. I can see those things, but when I'm listening to them in a vacuum, the person who gives me a story that it looks just like my situation and the problems I know to exist in my environment and the disagreements we have in my environment, I'm hiring that person. So you got to be really, really clear, and you need to plan these stories in advance. And so, and it isn't based on the questions they asked, it's based on the information they need to know. So that's a great question. And if Kara, if she's really dancing, I've got a video on this, because I could say that after every one of these questions that I ask you, I always have a video. There's always a video on there. And so Consuelo, if you just go to my YouTube channel and type the word story, the videos will come up. Mary Lou, I do not have a template for these presentations. I just gave it to you. And I would love, I want to tell you something. I thought about giving you a presentation, like actually giving the presentation. But then I thought I didn't want to do that because I want you all to be as creative as you can be with how you want to package the information. So I gave you what I think were the ingredients. Now you could say goals on one side of the page, problems on the other side of the page if you wanted to. So, or you might want to use pictures, or you might want to use simple bullets, or they might say, hey, don't put too much into this. We really just want the info. Fine, give them bullets. So great question, but I did consciously decide not to do that. However, tomorrow I'm giving you a boilerplate presentation on building a business case if you're coming to the leadership program. Vivian, the question I selected for my project is a theoretical question which would require strategic thought application. It doesn't really fall in any of the buckets you have. Am I missing something? I'm not even sure what to say to you here. I'm not sure what the project is. I'm answering a specific request, which is how do your skills map our job? If they threw a project at you, or you chose a project, you are presenting for a completely different reason. So if they say to you, we would like you to give a presentation to us, pick anything you want and present. Okay, well then that's going to depend on what your goal is. If you're in sales, then pick up a sales presentation. If you're in engineering, then pick an engineering design and implementation presentation. So that's a completely different request. The other option is they say, Vivian, here's a scenario. We want to know how you would solve this problem or this challenge or handle this client or build this system. Give us a presentation. Then you're going to give a presentation related to that. Totally different. Let's see, Ray, as a technical PM, I can deliver transformation, but I am not technically strong. I've never been an engineer. Should I address that head on or focus on being able to deliver? Okay, this is a great question. So wait, let's go through Andy's rules of order here. every and all. This is an absolute every and all. Anytime you are ever getting a question about anything, for whatever reason, we talk about what we are, not what we're not. So you are a technical project manager who understands how to drive projects in a technical environment aimed at this, that, and the other thing. Whatever your background was that you came up through is your background. Be proud of that. You obviously know what you're doing if you've attained this level. And if the employer is very interested in someone who has detailed technical understanding, they're not interested in a technical project manager. They're interested in something else, and that ain't for you, and you can take comfort in knowing that. So I wouldn't be addressing anything. If they ask you, what your upbringing was, you just explain it to them. Don't apologize about it. So that's my way of saying, if you're in the interview, you're qualified. If they've seen your background and they see you have not been an engineer, I'm not going to worry about it. If they start poking at you saying, well, we've got other candidates, or we really want somebody who has an engineering background, you say, okay, sounds good to me. This ain't for me. Kaylee, I tend to go on tangents. How do I stay focused when giving the context? The context should only take 15 seconds. So the business problem is the business problem. If you can't say it in 15 seconds, keep working it until you can, because you're trying to introduce too much information. What was the business problem? Just tell me in one sentence or two sentences. And I thought you were going to say, how do I stay focused when giving my power story? When the CAR technique, and I know you have access to this, has a multi-step approach for how you explain your process. That in and of itself is designed to keep you from straying. Then it becomes meaning in your story, here's step 1, here's step 2, here's step 3. The areas where we get verbose is in the front, where you're giving too much information, and along the way where you're also giving too much information. It's not usually in the second part of the answer, where I want you to be talking about your steps in just the names, but where you're actually adding detail to fill in what it was that you were doing. And the easiest way to not go on a tangent is to only give a bullet point assessment of the ingredients or the areas or the acts. But what people want to do is they want to explain the process. You've already done that. Now you're just filling in the steps. And if that's not what you were looking for, we're going to be working together here in a week or a couple of weeks on in our 2-day workshop, where we're going to go even further into this. Actually, hey, Kara, you know what? Can we? I know that, guys, I know, gals, I know this is throwing a lot at you, but if any of you want to sign up for, actually, let me, Kara, can you Slack me the link for the car workshop? You know what? Let's just throw that out there, because I know some of them probably want to sign up. So just send that to me in Slack. So on September 10th and 11th at 11 a.m. each day, we're in the Zoom room. It's free, but we're not at live office hours those days. And beautiful. And so we have, Kara, let's just put this in the chat. I created this. I said to myself, I want a 90-second video. I challenged myself. In 90 seconds, I want to tell them everything I want to tell them. And so if you want to sign up for this, it's free. Just hit the button. And you just hit the button, put your name and email. If you're a boot camper, and if you are, you are, all you need to do is RSVP from the email we sent you yesterday. And so everybody is invited. I do have a limited number of seats. So that means you need to show up on time. Otherwise, you're going to get blocked out of the session. And it's free. It's free. It's going to be great. And it's going to be teaching and role playing. And we're going to do it in an isolated fashion. So the reason this dawned on me is, Kaylee, what you're asking me is, we're going to take the context portion of the car technique. I'm going to teach it. And then we're only going to work the openers. So I'm going to go person after person, and we're just going to work your openers, and I'm going to show you how to get it down to 15 seconds. And so you're going to have a lot of, hopefully you have a lot of examples, and that'll be the first part. And then the second part is, how do you breeze through your steps? And then we'll all work together, and you'll work your power stories while I'm going through it, and you'll work your power stories while I'm working with the people in the hot seats. It's going to be a ton of fun. So just sign up. It's free. It's free. You drop your name in there. We'll send you the RSVP link. You get this right on your calendar. It's going to be, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. It's Wednesday and Thursday, the 10th and the 11th. And then on Friday, September 12th, I'll be meeting with members of my job search coaching program, and we're going to work on your salary negotiation and job description roles, and how you create a living, breathing salary negotiation grid, and how you can create your own job description, and how you can argue the heck out of what you're worth. It's going to be awesome. And I'll be with the boot campers 3 days and the public 2 days. All right. Thomas Frederick. Would it make sense to create a non-requested presentation and use it at the beginning of an interview to intercept the traditional Q&A format, build the power story into a presentation? I would not want you to do that. It would irritate the hell out of me as an interviewer if you shoved a presentation in front of my face when I wanted to ask you questions. So now that's in isolation, and that's a great question you asked. Now, if you want to create a presentation about how you're going to approach the job, like a 30, 60, 90 day, or when I get there, this is what I would do based on what I know, and they ask you for this, and if you're in sales, you need to have one of these. If you don't, that's a sin. If you're in sales and don't have a 30, 60, 90-day plan. If you are in management, meaning you're going to run a team, and you don't have that, I wouldn't hire you. Okay, so now then it becomes, well, when do I whip that out? Well, you don't do that until you gather as much information as you can to make your plan or your presentation as good as you can make it. And then when you get down to the end, if they still haven't asked you, because they might not, you can say, so Thomas, this is an exception to what I just said. You can go in and say, hey, listen, I'm really loving this. This is like our third, fourth dance. And I want you to know that as part of my homework, to make sure that I feel great about my ability to support you and meet your success criteria and all this other great stuff, I planned out, kind of what I thought the first 3 months could look like. And it's just a working draft of what I think I would like to do. Obviously, if I'm hired, I would want to work with you on this, but I have that. It's something you'd be interested in seeing. And that way you can see what, kind of take their temperature and then see their reaction. And so from that perspective, I like it, but I would not create a presentation just for a regular old power story and give it to them right out of the chute. But that's a great question, my friend. That's really nice. Good one there. Really good. Let's see. Dendra Bates got a question. All right, I got an answer. Had an interview, but they only gave me 1 day's notice to give a 15-minute presentation. What are the bare bones I need to cover given the very limited time? The problem is I don't know what they asked you to present. So this, what I gave you today, you should be able to pull this together in 5 minutes. And why I'm not being flip and I'm not being funny. And why would I say that? Because this is the stuff you should have done before you wrote your resume. And it should take you almost no time to list this out. And so you could whip this together in no time. And this could be a 15-minute presentation. Now, I don't know what they asked you to present. And giving you only, however, and one other thing I want to say, giving you 1 day to pull it together, I'm guessing that it's not too complicated, because if it was, they would have given you more time. They would have. So I'm not sure it's a great question. I'm not sure what they're asking you to present, but those are my thoughts on that. Peter Parker, boot camper. Yes, you are. Love this. Love having you, my friend. You're welcome. What's the most important effective way to develop car stories from 5-step process or to create a 5-step process from car stories, giving their correlation? Okay, let me see if I can, let me see if I can show you something here. Here we go. All right. Every single one of you, here is your steps. This is the second part of the car technique, okay? Every single one of you, whether you crank out a widget every day, whether you plan multi-million-dollar projects, whether you are opening up a unit, whether you're reorganizing a division, anything you do, there's not one of you that can't map what you do day in and day out to this. You ready? I did an assessment to get my hands around what was there. I created a solution based on what I discovered. I made a business case to pitch my idea to my boss, to my management team, to my team. I then, when it was blessed, built out a recommendation. I implemented it. I operated it. I gathered data and I iterated it. There you go. That takes 11 seconds to say. Okay? Every single one of you, this is the second part of your answer. You show your steps. So, Peter, your stories start with a context, a la what Katie asked me. What was the business problem? Great. Then what'd you do? Well, then I did a number of steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can combine some. I don't care. But that's your framework. And why do I know every single one of you did that? Because if you got an assignment from your boss and the first thing that you did was not get your arms around what the hell you needed to do or what data you needed to gather, even if it took you 5 minutes, I would question your sanity or the output. So every single one of you, even if you have to think for 30 seconds, that's an assessment. Maybe it's 30 days. Maybe it's 3 weeks. So you're telling a story to demonstrate your methods, your organization, your approach, how methodical you are, the fact that you understand the mechanics. And when you're speaking like this, when you sweep through it, you won't go off track. I did an assessment. I needed to get my arms around it. Here's the other steps. Let's go back. Here's what the assessment entailed. I had to look at the 3 different divisions, all the operating procedures, all the documentation. I needed to look at our customer segments and the current market trends. Awesome. Got it. Go. Next one. And that's how you're moving. This, by the way, is what we're going to work on for 2 days in that workshop. So when you leave that workshop, whoever you are, your story's going to be humming. Just show up. That's a great one. Highness, you're Rio. That's a handle. Can I use this strategy to answer this question in an interview for a job? Have you come across with any problems in your work and how did you solve it? Yes. I had this problem where we needed to open up a new market in Europe. I had this problem where we were overpaying our customers because these two systems weren't talking to each other. Okay? You just go. You go. Travisito77. Hi, Andrew. I have an interview later today. Love the content. Love you for saying so. Lots of luck today. Brian Yates, halfway through the Zebra Code. Great book for professionals to be more effective. I love it. Hey, I'm not kidding you. Grab it. And even if you don't want to get in the leadership program, still get $250 of lessons. You'll still get a taste of it, right? Better than a sharp stick. Just email your hardcover receipt to support@milewalk.com, and Kara will or I will respond, and we will give you access to, here's what this looks like. If you're not sure if you want to get in the leadership program, but you like the idea of the Zebra Code and you want to get the book, which I would love for you to have, when you get the book, what happens is we give you a product like this, and this is what you get for free. You get this skill building roadmap where you get the skill building and career planning. This is what we did in January. You get how your career skills influence your earning power, and then you get building self-awareness, overcoming imposter syndrome, and crafting compelling messages. And you can go in and watch the video. You get the workbooks. So this is what the leadership workbooks look like. And so you're going to get one of these. It's going to be a whole breakdown of everything that I discussed in the leadership session. And then all of these have thought provokers where you can ask yourself questions. These are like deep thinking, reflection questions. And then I help you understand how to create standard clocks. So how do you know how long it's going to take you to develop something? And then I give you a challenge that you get a month to do. And so every one is like that. And then if you get the Zebra Code, you can have that for free. And then if you want to see what the rest of the library looks like, you can just go in and all of these you'll at least be able to see what's in there. There's obviously a lot of lessons because I've been doing this since March of 2019. And so I built a massive library, a lot of stuff. But if you click on any of it and you're in the free program, it's gonna be blocked. So anyway, if you are interested, now if you do buy the Zebra Code and you're interested in getting in the leadership program, I'll give you $50 off the annual pass or annual membership. But it's a one-time gift because some of you already claimed your Zebra Code gifts. But I'd really love at a minimum for you to have the book. I'd really love for you to be in the leadership program because then I can really teach you. And we meet about every 4 weeks. We meet every month. And so you got an idea what the schedule looks like. It's really a lot of fun. And I really enjoy those sessions. And tomorrow's is going to be great. All right, Kara, are we running out of questions? Do I need to pull up a dog or something? No, they're sleeping. I think I bore them. Highness Urio, you're welcome. Fox, you're welcome for that excellent interview, or info, I should say. Ray, you're welcome. Dana is wishing Tracy a good luck. Kara, you're kind of quiet. Is Kara still with us, or does nobody have any questions? Highness, that's awesome. Yes, I want you to use your own creativity. That's it. All right. Well, then I'm happy to click off. That doesn't usually happen. Why are you guys sleeping today? Normally everybody's mad because we can't get to all the questions. I'm looking. All right, Debbie E likes the colors. Chichi Cove, you know we love having you. I'm just going up the chat. Kath, thank you for buying the Zebra Code. Tracy A, that's a big one. You talk about what you are. You don't need to say I haven't faced, I've yet to face that, but I know we would need to do this. All right, well, listen, I gotta go feed the dogs or walk the dogs or something, and I always check, the carpets to make sure they haven't peed. All right, tomorrow I'm going to see my leaders. Business case, really awesome. We're going through 16 sections of what that looks like. I'm breaking it down, talking you through it, giving you examples, all that good stuff. And then let's see, next week, there's a new video on Tuesday. I happen to turn 59 on Wednesday, which means Thursday live office hours. I wanted to do something a little different as I enter my 60th year on this planet. I'm going to be talking about books that changed my life forever, but I'm going to give you the stories behind what happened as a result of me reading these 10 books. And maybe you can add a few of them to your library. Then we'll do some Q&A. I'll be in a given mood because I always am on my birthday. I don't ask for presents. I give stuff away. So make sure you show up next Thursday because, I'm going to be like Andy Claus for my birthday. So love to have all of you. Thank you so much for showing up. And have a great weekend if I don't see you tomorrow. Otherwise, look for me on your inbox on Tuesday. Take care. See you soon.